Today we're finally getting to the IS300. It's time to drop the transmission. Today we're gonna be dropping the transmission on this. We finally finished everything on this, and if you saw my Instagram story, I went to the back of the car and there's no fuel pump. Thanks, Dominic. We're gonna go ahead and get started on this. I'm gonna drain out the fluids, go ahead and get underneath this thing. That way we can drop this transmission, and then we're gonna remove these stock seats, get this interior prepped, maybe even remove the steering wheel as well. That way we can start getting this thing modified. I'm super excited. I started wiping down the exterior, and look how clean this is. But either way, stay tuned. This is gonna be a banger. Let's go.
I was raised in the G, I'ma make sure down on me, yeah, down on me. I can hit the beat to the lake. I live when you come and take a damn vacation. Cruising up and down the block, yeah, I'm moving, this beat sound good, let's get to it, okay? It's the weekend, so you know it's time to play. Me on the grill with the bruise and the bud. Sun's coming out, ain't no fog in the way. All of my homies right here.
You guys might be wondering, why don't I just take out the entire engine? And I've done it like that before, where you just pull out the entire engine and the transmission as one piece. You definitely can do it that way. When you're by yourself, it's definitely gonna be a lot tougher, and I only have a few space before I go off into the concrete. So with my hoist, I'm not gonna make it hard on myself and try to pull that out by myself. There's just no point. So I'm gonna drop the transmission, and it's less fluids to deal with just for today. So I'm gonna drop the transmission out of there. We can start getting things out of the way. Plus there's not much that I need to do in the engine bay just yet anyway, so. All right, we've got that fluid draining now. We're gonna let that drain out, and then while that's doing that, we're gonna actually just start removing the exhaust. All right, so the first thing I did is I went ahead and sprayed pretty much everything with this PB blaster right here. And we've already got the exhaust ready to come out. So we took off our O2 sensor right here, loosened that, and then we also, you can see all the PB blaster dripping down, but we loosened everything. The exhaust is loose at the front, and the hangers are the only thing hanging it in back there. So we're gonna remove this entire exhaust really quick, and then we'll get that out of our way. All right, so we got the exhaust out. You can see the drive shaft bolts from here. We got one shield here, another shield here that's gonna come off. And then we've got access to the transmission and everything from here. Just gotta disconnect the cooler lines in the front from the radiator for the transmission, and disconnect the shift linkage here before we start doing anything else. So all right, so we've got our drive shaft out and we've got our exhaust out. Now we gotta disconnect the cooler lines from the transmission, which they go right here. So you can really just unplug this rubber hose clamp here. So right there, that's our two transmission cooler lines. We just gotta disconnect these two hose clamps that are right here, 1 and 2, and we can disconnect those, catch the fluid that comes out, and then disconnect the brackets from the engine block. So there's 10mm bolts securing it to the engine block there, and then one there for the engine block. Actually, they're 12mm. So I'm gonna disconnect all those lines, and then we'll be able to remove the bell housing bolts. All right, so I got a piece of dirt in my eye, and I had to flush it out for like 10 minutes, but I think we're good. So we've got our cooler lines disconnected from the block and from the transmission. We've got the exhaust out, we've got the drive shaft out. We've got to take out the torque plate, sorry. I don't know why, whenever I go to do these videos, it's like I don't know what I'm talking about, but I gotta do the torque converter bolts. So you gotta spin the engine on the front to access them from the backside. Let me show you guys exactly where you're gonna find these at. Back here, and you're gonna see this bolt right there. So there's gonna be 4, I think, of those. 4, 5, 6, I'm not really sure. And we're gonna take those off, and then you're gonna have to spin the engine here from the front to access the next one, and so on and so forth. So you're gonna wanna loosen these before you try to remove the transmission. Otherwise you're gonna be like, why won't my transmission come off? All right, so the only thing that's stopping us from getting the transmission out now is the bell housing bolts and the transmission mount. So we're gonna go ahead and tackle those now. We're gonna go ahead and zap those off. I think it's 14s and 12s, no, 14s and 17s, I'm not sure. But we're gonna go ahead and zap those off now, and then we'll be getting this transmission out of here. All right, so right here we've got pretty much all the bolts off. So we're gonna take our transmission, our jack, and put it under the transmission rather. So we take our super long extension, feed it through the top, right onto the bolts, hopefully. Yep, that's it. So we can't break it loose with that Milwaukee from here, way too much. Get it. My breaker bar is broken. How about that? Ouch. All right, that's out. So then, we throw our Milwaukee on. Oh. All right, so we got every bolt out. Just took out the 2 starter bolts. That should pop up. Yep, starter fell out. So now, yeah, our transmission's gonna come out. 100%. Just so we don't drop the transmission, I'm gonna actually strap a strap around it, kind of create that transmission jack kind of feel, because I don't want to drop the transmission on myself. That's how that goes. All right, so we got the transmission out very gracefully, as you saw. Surprisingly, nothing really happened to it, even though it fell out like that. So no cracks, no anything really, not that I can see. So got a big old mess of oil over there I got to go clean up. Transmission's out. We're gonna park it somewhere in the back over there, and then we're gonna clean up this. Then we're gonna move on and drop the subframe today. I decided we're gonna go ahead and drop that subframe, and we'll get everything out so we can get the chassis ready. Alrighty guys, we got the transmission out. We tucked it over there on the floor behind the car over there, and now we're gonna go ahead and remove the interior. We're gonna remove the stock seats. We're gonna remove that auto shifter console, and that's pretty much it for now. Everything else is gonna stay. Stock back seats are staying, door panels is all staying, but we're just gonna get this ready for the, manual swap, and then we're gonna actually be putting some new seats in later on. So we're gonna get that done and then get this all vacuumed out because it looks terrible. All right, we got the stock seats out. It's quite a mess underneath. Well, we're gonna get in here with a vacuum all this stuff out, and then once we clean all this out, remove this auto shift console, and then we're gonna remove that entire rear subframe. All right, so we removed the entire e-brake assembly from the car because we're not gonna be running the stock handbrake. Obvious reasons. We can pull this piece out now. So this is the cable that goes from the handbrake to the cables underneath the car, and we just disconnected those. That way it's ready for the subframe to be removed. This carpet is really nasty. I don't know if you guys can see it. The lighting's really bad in here. I apologize. But essentially this carpet's gonna have to come out as well. We're gonna be able to clean all this center console. This transmission tunnel is gonna need to be modified just a little bit for the CD009. So we're gonna get this all cleaned up and emptied out. I'm gonna pull this carpet out as well. So, all right, so we got our entire carpet out. You can see there's a lot of dirt and grime here. We're gonna clean this up with some degreaser, see if we can get it off. And pretty much that's it for the interior for now. We're gonna leave it as is. All right guys, we walked to the donut shop. I'm gonna be honest, it's one of those moments. We just did that entire interior removal. We dropped the trans. It's only like 3 o'clock. It's not even 3 o'clock, it's 1:48. And I said I was gonna drop this subframe today, and now I don't really want to. And it's really dark back here, so I don't know if I'm gonna be able to get good footage for you guys. But we're gonna have to move this engine out of the way, pop this trunk, and start seeing what's in the trunk that I have to remove. I know the rear struts. Get underneath and pull this subframe, let's get it. All right guys, we got the whole entire subframe out. I decided to just disconnect the lower bolt on the strut. That was a lot easier than dealing with the trunk mess. So we got the subframe out really easily actually. So that's out. Now there's nothing here except the struts, which we're gonna take those out. Stock brakes are going bye-bye as well. And then we're gonna be go ahead and removing everything that we don't need. We're gonna be getting all aftermarket arms for the rear. So we're gonna remove everything that we don't need from this subframe. That way we can have it ready to get the bushings out. We're gonna be doing solid bushings as well. So we're gonna remove everything for now and go from there. All right, you guys can see right here, we got all the arms off, every arm except for the traction rod, because I don't think that arm gets changed. I think that arm's gonna stay. And we got all the stock arms over here. So we got our subframe up on a jack, and we gotta get this diff out of here now. I probably should have loosened these while it was in the car, but it's okay. We got everything PB blastered, everything's been coming off real easy, so I gotta clean up this area. It's super slippery, and then we're gonna get this diff removed and go from there. Alrighty, you guys, we got our subframe up on the table. This is a wooden table, so I don't think it's gonna hold this thing, so I'm gonna leave the hoist right here. But we gotta get the diff out still. I was having some trouble with that, but no big deal. So I got it up here so it's easier to work on. We still gotta get these bushings out as well. And then I got the transmission out, we got the interior out, and obviously the rear subframe. So we're gonna leave it at that. The carpet's out as well. Pretty much a lot of work that I did today. Maybe clean up a little bit more in here, try to get this a little bit cleaner. But other than that, we're gonna be pretty much essentially waiting on parts. I don't have the bushings and everything yet for this. So I've got this ready to work on. We still gotta tear into this 2J here, but most importantly, I gotta clean up this giant mess. So if you guys did enjoy this video, make sure to like, comment, and subscribe. Let me know what you guys are looking forward to the most. We should have this engine back from the machine shop hopefully soon, and we got the LSD ready to go in here. We're gonna get some adjustable arms and everything else. So again, if you guys did enjoy it, make sure to subscribe, and maybe we'll give you guys this lift right here on a giveaway, free shipping too.